Hi, so this week I learned a lot about relationships, negotiation, trust, and conflict, I guess, strategies in a business, workplace, or just in life also that is used in life sometimes. So, first topic. Relationship conflicts involve a connection between two or more parties, while task or process conflicts are focused more on goals, procedures, idea, work objectives. Um, yeah. So, why are relationship conflicts the most, I guess, dysfunctional and destructive conflict and have more destructive outcome? And the reason I say relationship conflicts have the most destructive outcome is because, like I said, it involves a connection. So with the connection, there's emotion, there's trust, there's feelings. So, um, say that conflict, the initial conflict and issue, problem has already been resolved. There's still going to be negative emotion fluttering in that connection between the two parties that'll make it difficult to work with one another. I've definitely had an experience of a relationship conflict in my work experiences. In my first job, I was a cashier slash floater. I helped out in a lot of departments. Um, and whenever it was needed, but my initial job was cashier. But with me floating around, I did end up helping other departments, but my interest gravitated a lot towards the bakery. Um, I ended up doing really good in the bakery. Ended up getting a really good um, grip of the work objectives and the work tasks, work skills, and all that. And I ended up growing a small bond with the bakery manager, and we worked really good with each other. And then I ended up working part-time in the bakery, and there came a conflict that involved, I guess, that involved me, and I made a decision when the bakery manager was not there. Um, but the situation at hand was very urgent, so I made a decision that I put myself in the manager's perspectives, um, thinking what they would do. So I did a decision hoping that it would be the best decision for them. And when the situation came to the manager's awareness, it did cause a drift between us because they didn't like the fact that I made a decision without their approval. But in my defense, of course, this is all learning experience, but in my defense, I was making a decision based on something I thought they would do, especially since it was an urgent matter type of situation. Um, we did end up sitting in the office about this. We ended up talking about the conflict, and we did end up resolving the conflict. We did come to an agreement of what's the conflict solution, of a solution for the conflict. But after that, there was a little bit of a disconnection between us. We weren't so much of a good team anymore. So just because I did feel uncomfortable, I did ask to step out of the bakery department for a while, just because I wasn't comfortable. So if I don't feel comfortable, I do speak up for myself. So that happened, and yeah, it wasn't the best time, and it's something that I wish I could take back and fix. But things happen, and it's all a learning experience. So yeah. So there are next topic. There are 5 conflict management strategies. There's avoidance, which is basically suppressing a conflict by simply ignoring it. There's accommodation, which is adjusting our views, seeing from other perspectives when it comes to a situation. But with accommodation, you are neglecting your own thoughts or feelings, pushing them aside just so you can see these other perspectives. There's competition, where basically, in my simple terms, you're basically wanting to win an argument through force, skill, or domination. Fourth, there's compromise, which is finding a mutual situation between two parties that satisfies both sides. And finally, there's collaboration, where all parties are involved and they make an effort to find a solution that satisfies all parties. So, with these 5 conflict management strategies, say we are in a situation where it involves 2 unequal parties. In this unequal party, we'll do a manager and employee. Say there was a conflict between these 2 employees, and it's not getting anywhere. So what conflict management strategy is best, not best, but will more likely to occur between these 2? Just because there is a higher power involved in this situation, I would have to say, from the management side, there would have to be a compromise conflict, because it honestly depends on the manager's mindset and the work situation. Because say this employee involved in the situation hasn't done anything previously to the situation, and has done their work, has always been on top of their work, has been on time, has been efficient, productive, very positive work attitude, and then the situation happens. So, in what I think would occur, the manager would most likely use the accommodation strategy, not accommodation, but actually accommodation, because they are going to try to see it from the other party's perspective, which is the employee. Try to think of, okay, fine, what can I do to resolve this issue that'll be not helpful, but that would work out for my employee, my good employee. So yeah, but from the employee's standpoint, I feel like they would have that they would they would do the accommodation strategy as well, while the manager would do the compromise strategy, find a mutual solution between both parties, and the employee would do the accommodation strategy. They would have to suppress their own thoughts or feelings, because at the end of the day, they are being against a higher power. But depending on the situation, the employee might want to get their job and resolve this issue, so they are willing to hear out the manager. Even if they think they're right, but in the situation they're wrong, they'll want to hear out the manager and see, okay, fine, let's hear him out and see what he comes up with to resolve this conflict. And then the manager will try to do his best to find a common ground for both parties to resolve the conflict. Now, with an equal party, so an employee and an employee, from my experience, I feel like the first thing would be that most likely would happen is the avoidance strategy. The employees would ignore each other, because let's say a worst task didn't get done and they didn't communicate properly. So this employee is blaming this employee and vice versa. So they would avoid each other because they wouldn't want to take blame or take accountability and just automatically blame the other party. So they would avoid the solution. They wouldn't want to resolve the issue because the other party doesn't want to resolve the issue. So why do they have to resolve the issue? And just from my experience, it's the first thing that happens when there's a conflict between employees. They avoid each other. Now, if the two employees are involved in the situation are mature in the workplace, I feel like they would use the compromise strategy. Communicate with each other, listen to each other, find a common ground, find a solution for the conflict, other than, just ignoring it and let it fly by. Because with the avoidance strategy, yes, you're ignoring the employee, then ignoring each other, but you work with this person. These two employees are needed in order to accomplish the work task in a workplace. So if they're avoiding each other, there's not going to be good productivity or efficiency in the workplace. So it's not a good choice for them to take the avoidance strategy, but that's what would happen. But now if they were mature employees, they would do the compromise strategy and find a common ground so they can resolve the issue. I have been involved in an avoidance situation, and just recently actually, because at my office job, I am considered the head just because I am in charge of getting ready all the documents for the week for patients. I'm in charge of getting procedure paperwork ready. I'm like the right-hand man for the office manager. I assist the doctors with any documents that they need, and I communicate with doctor offices, hospitals, when we need specific documents, or the hospitals when I need to schedule procedures. So I've kind of gained a knowledge, and so I'm a valuable asset at the office. But with this office job, I did gain a friend, and we've been friends for over a year now. But just recently we did have a conflict because there was something that was done wrong, and she was the one that did it. So I brought it to her awareness, and she was not fond of that. So immediately we avoided each other. And she has her own job responsibilities, but when it comes to scheduling procedures and say there are stuff she doesn't know, she automatically comes to me, especially for the procedures, hospital scheduling. So she still has to speak to me about it, but aside from that, we avoided each other. We didn't want to speak to each other. We didn't want to resolve the negativity between us because we resolved the conflict. The conflict was resolved, but there was still that negative emotions and trust between us that, kind of interrupted our connection. So in this case, we are speaking now, but avoidance, it's mostly best used in any situation that involves emotions, any emotionally charged situations. Automatically the first thing pops up is like a breakup, even though you do want to resolve an issue, the emotions are high. So, you want to step back from the situation and let yourself breathe, relax, think about what's going on, and just let the emotions do its work. And after it's all out, you'll be able to think and, come back to the conflict and find a common solution. And this is why I do think avoidance is a effective The management strategy, if that's the best word to say, is because when it comes to the conflict, you step back from the conflict. You take a breather, you relax, you think about what's going on. And just because emotions are all high, you're not really thinking right. So you'll be able to think during this break time and come back to the conflict when ready. Final topic. So, two bargaining strategies. First one is distributive bargaining, which is a win-lose situation. So one party has to win and one has to lose in order to reach a solution. And then the final one is integrative bargaining, which in the book it says everyone gets a slice of pie or gets a whole pie, which is basically a win-win situation. So both parties get their desired solution. And with the four strategies, I feel like focusing on interests, not positions, is the most effective because you're looking at all parties' wishes and desires. You're seeing their perspectives rather than their titles, and with that, you're able to come to common ground and find a solution to any conflict. Again, regardless of titles.